Kamen Rider Zeztz episode 35 was so thoroughly shocking that I don't really know how to process it. We had, spoilers, the second death of Kureha. We had Baku giving up and losing his supreme belt and weapon in the UFO thingy. And we had him coming into the position where he was about to die again. We also have the revelation that Code Somnia can be used. This is not its primary use, apparently, or not what it was intended for, but it can be used to rewrite the dreams of the masses and to control them and to influence them to think or perceive things a particular way. And I don't know how to feel about all of this. We start off with a lovely dream of everybody eating meat, shouting, Niku, 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 which I find very funny. And it makes me long for a wholesome show. And it makes me long for a scenario in which we could see these characters being happy. And I'm not really a fan of slice of life stories. And I'm not saying I would honestly enjoy seeing the characters from Zeztz in another scenario, in a slice of life type of scenario. But it's really interesting how when you have characters who go through hell, who go through pain and suffering and torment and fighting and things like that, there's a great satisfaction to be had in seeing them in their downtime, seeing them relaxing, seeing them enjoying one another's company, and seeing them do something as simple as have a barbecue. And I find that probably to be the most shocking and powerful thing, that despite the fact that these characters are totally taken out of their context and put into a different scenario, a different type of life, that I still found their interactions entertaining, and I was really impressed by that. And I think this makes me want to be a better writer. And I don't know necessarily how to balance out the slice of life stuff with the more serious action, how to make it work. And if you try to do that every single episode, will it ruin the show or the story? If you try to do that with every single chapter, will that make things a mess? Or is it just right? Is there a perfect balance? I couldn't really say. So far, I don't think there is a way to go ahead and accomplish that. I think the contrast, the dichotomy, the extremes that we're seeing, the extremes that we're seeing are what make it so satisfying. And when we get to see this alternate take, this different spin, this little twist on things, it makes it so that you can take a breath and relax in this circumstance. In the circumstance of a show like Kamen Rider Zeztz, where there's action and shock and horror and all these terrible things happening all the time. And you can appreciate the quieter moments. And I think that's good, I think that's healthy, and I think it's important to be able to do. Not that everything has to have it, and not that we have to have the universe of that where quieter, smaller, lower stakes, more slice of life stories have to have some sort of action and drama in them, like unto a henshin fight in a Kamen Rider show, or a henshin hero tokusatsu show. But there's something great to be said about the contrast, and perhaps that's the key to the episode's success. And really, Shakespeare said that brevity was the soul of wit. I've heard that surprise is the soul of humor, specifically. The reason things are funny is because you don't expect them. Somebody falls down suddenly. Somebody, gets a pie thrown in their face. Those things are sudden and unexpected. Sarah laughed because she heard unexpected news. This 90-year-old woman was about to have a son. It's ridiculous, but more than that, it's unexpected, and it's not what you would expect to see happen. So the surprise and the novelty of that made her laugh. And I do think similar to that, contrast is the soul of, I don't know what, hype, excitement, satisfaction, engagement. When the story surprises you, you as the reader, the listener, the viewer, the audience, you lean in and you want to know what's going to happen next. And it draws you in and it gets you to focus and wait for and watch for and see what's going to happen. And how will our heroes come out of it? Or how will they not come out of it? And I don't think it's enough to simply shock the audience in a meaningless way, because then it becomes rote, and you have to keep escalating the level of shock in order to get the same effect. Kind of like how I talked about Sieg and his needing to kill more and more, needing to see worse and worse nightmares because of all the nightmares he had lived already. That's not a good place to be. That's not a healthy place to be. But I feel like, and this is something I mentioned in the last analysis of Zeztz, I feel like Takahashi maybe is masterful in this one area, or maybe this is just one area in which he's masterful, which is that he is guiding us along the show, and there's a trajectory, and the status quo is being reset. There are peaks and valleys, there's peaks and plateaus, essentially is what it really is. I haven't been so many valleys yet. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But my point is that as soon as things get to be a certain way, something changes, something twists, and there's a new dynamic and a shift that needs to be made by Baku, mostly, in order to keep up with the change and to keep up with what's happening. And the audience gets to be shocked at the change. They get to be anxious for Baku to succeed, and we get to see him fail and succeed in different ways, and we get to see him learn to cope with the change and gain mastery over it, and that's really interesting. I was really, to use a word and a concept I've talked about a lot already in this analysis, I was really shocked that Baku gave up his power in order to save the lives of these two random guys. I'm not shocked that he would want to do that. I'm shocked that he did it. And I understand why, but I also don't understand why. How many more lives are going to be ruined and lost and destroyed because he couldn't bear to Baku can't bear to let these two Nemlin fans hurt each other, and so he potentially puts many more people at risk and potentially loses the power to be Zeztz and to stop Code from their reign of tyranny, from their mass manipulation of the populace, of the public. And we don't really know how many people are hurting or will be hurt by Code, but he won't let these two people be hurt by Code, which is shocking, but it's also heroic. But it's definitely heroic in the moment. And as to, I believe this is the second or third time the trolley problem is getting brought up in Kamen Rider Zeztz. These questions are being asked, and it creates a very dramatic scenario and strong feelings, I think, in others as well as me, about Baku choosing to do this and, making himself vulnerable and making himself about to be killed by 3, making his premonition come true. And it's hard to accept, and it's hard to understand why that's okay. And maybe Takahashi is working with moral ambiguity. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, it's interesting and it's engaging. What do you think? Did Baku make the right choice in giving up his power to save these two guys that were right there, or not? Let me know. Leave a comment. Also check the pinned comment for my full analysis, or my main analysis. No, this is the main analysis. Check the pinned comment for my inspector's notes where I dive deeper into this episode. Until next time, folks, take care. This is MJ with Rider Tears signing out.